Finding the hidden self. The invisible weight. Understanding the pain of loneliness. In life, there is an invisible, conceptual weight of pain and suffering that can become very profound, especially as a result of isolation, circumstance, or unhealed traumas. The hopes of this writing is to explore these areas, all too common in society today, and the causes and solutions we can all explore together. The invisible weights we can carry with us are often very complex and limiting. Rejecting the victim mindset plays a key role in dropping the weight of loneliness and isolation. You can be lonely for many circumstances outside of your control. But if you choose perpetual victimization from your past trauma, without learning to trust again and forgive, you are only going to forever be holding yourself back. Learning to take chances again and to trust in the process of discovering new options is not always easy. But it's far more difficult to stay stuck in the ruts we find ourselves in than to take more risks. Setting strong, clear boundaries is important for moving forward successfully with taking new chances. You get to decide what resonates with you or not, and have the strength to walk away if clear boundaries of respect are broken. This next concept may not sit well with some, but I feel it's an important insight to consider for some folks. Take what resonates with you and leave the rest. That is good advice for this writing or any other. Life has become very compartmentalized these days, whether you are in a family structure or not. There are compartmentalized ways of thinking, philosophies, religions, and politics that have drastically separated people from knowing each other, from caring for each other in the way that God has intended. The powerful differences between seeking positively focused philosophies over dogmatic aspects of religion, philosophies, and societal trends cannot be understated. The great divide often comes from within ourselves, not from Jesus, Buddha, Lao Tzu, Hindu, or Egyptian gods, etc. Religion, in my opinion, is oftentimes the perfect example of hypocrisy and narcissism when not employed freely and without prejudice and suppositions about God. In my personal opinion, too much of religion limits the experience of God to a fear-based, judgmental, damning God. It can oftentimes express God as a being that seems to want to destroy its own creation whenever it steps out of line. I believe those concepts are misrepresented and were written to control society, instead of using more simplistic concepts like karma to represent what can happen to us if we choose an unhealthy path. You don't need a system of fear and damnation to teach good people about karma or the universal laws of cause and effect. But take that with a grain of salt, as this is my own personal experience, and is not meant to demonize all aspects of religion, as there are many more good aspects one could focus on. The philosophical basis of all positively focused religions in my mind are healthy, but the stories and dogmas they have wrapped it all up in over the years is not. They have done this historically through political influence, classism, social castes, and in some cases have ruined the experience of community for so many of us. Churches are not the small community-based, self-sustainable entities they used to be. They are oftentimes not allowing people to have their own experience of God if it's not been written, for example, in the pages of the Bible that Jesus had no hand in writing, for example. This is why it's my personal goal to seek out a way to bring people together on the common-sense philosophical principles that help us all live a good and decent life. A life focused on loving each other and seeing the value in true connections with Source and each other. Not fake or superficial connections, but real intention-based connections that mean something to all those involved. Religion has become, in many ways, a badge of importance for so many. Many, but not all. People participate that way because it sometimes makes them feel better than others. In some cases, this is because they felt powerless in their own lives and seek that power through attempting to control the belief systems of others. They do this sometimes so they can place themselves into a position to judge others, even though their religion tells them this is wrong. They have convinced themselves that they are the judge and jury or the moral authority over all others. And if you're not part of the group, or choose to believe in your own way within that group, you become the outsider anyway. My goal is to break through this judgmental mindset with finding and healing those areas that can divide us all. Religion can be unifying in a lot of ways too, as long as the focus is on the positive aspects of community and not solely on the dogmatic, questionable practices that lead to fear condemnation, and judgment of others. A positive focus like that can only be successful if we dare to step a little outside of the dogmatic constructs we humans have devised, with no direct input from God. We need to, in all cases, focus on the commonalities and allow people to choose what is right for themselves, without judgment or condemnation. The importance of understanding emotional resonance. From the unity perspective, resonance refers to the phenomenon where an individual's emotional state synchronizes with that of another person, group, or environment. This resonance can occur consciously or unconsciously and can have a profound impact on our emotional well-being, relationships, and overall quality of life. 1. Empathic resonance. This type of resonance occurs when we directly experience and mirror the emotions of another person. Empathic resonance is essential for building strong, supportive relationships. 2. Sympathetic resonance. This type of resonance occurs when we indirectly experience and respond to the emotions of another person. Sympathetic resonance is often seen in situations where we feel sorry for someone or offer support without directly experiencing their emotions. 3. Environmental resonance. This type of resonance occurs when we respond to the emotional atmosphere of a particular environment or setting. Environmental resonance can influence our mood, behavior, and overall emotional state. Factors influencing emotional resonance. 1. Empathy. The ability to understand and share the feelings of another person is crucial for emotional resonance. 2. Emotional intelligence. Being aware of and able to manage one's own emotions is essential for emotional resonance. 3. Shared experiences. Sharing common experiences, values, or interests can create a strong emotional resonance between individuals. 4. Nonverbal communication. Nonverbal cues such as body language, tone of voice, and facial expressions can significantly influence emotional resonance. 5. Personal boundaries. Establishing and maintaining healthy personal boundaries is essential for managing emotional resonance and preventing emotional overwhelm. Benefits of emotional resonance. 1. Deeper connections. Emotional resonance can lead to more meaningful, empathetic, and supportive relationships. 2. Emotional healing. Resonating with others can facilitate emotional healing, as it allows us to process and release pent-up emotions in a safe and supportive environment. 3. Increased empathy. Emotional resonance can increase our capacity for empathy, enabling us to better understand and connect with others. 4. Improved communication. Emotional resonance can enhance communication by allowing us to better understand and respond to the emotional needs of others. Challenges and limitations of emotional resonance. It's important to make sure you have healthy boundaries against negative outcomes or downright evil intentions. Being adverse to evil has nothing to do with negative judgment of others. This is simply a way to build on something of good intent and not include things that will potentially break that apart or hold us back. Seeking alignments in everything we do. Not perfect alignments in all cases, just on the points that matter most to us. There is a big difference between unchosen loneliness, usually brought on by traumas or circumstances outside of our control, and the chosen moments of solitude, where we just need time alone to reset and reevaluate things. While both concepts accompany each other, whether chosen or not, there is always an interplay of loneliness, isolation, and solitude involved. You can, no matter the situation, still find ways to connect in life even if you find yourself alone. Forcing yourself to take steps to do something is much better than staying within your comfort zone indefinitely. This can be really hard to take those first steps, but if you just make some steps to move forward, the process becomes easier over time. Trauma and emotional wounding. Individuals who have experienced trauma or emotional wounding may struggle with emotional resonance, as their emotional regulation systems may be compromised. To find our way out, we need to get to the root of the problem. What is it in your past that causes you to hold on to trauma, to cause you think less of yourself? Besides things like physical and emotional abuse, society or groups can sometimes set unrealistic standards, essentially implying that you have no worth unless you live up to those unrealistic standards. They will sometimes judge you for being perceived as too fat, too skinny, too tall, too short, too ugly, too smart, or too dumb, etc. People and society will form all kinds of opinions about you, and the goal is to not let any of it affect how you feel about yourself. Society can also judge a person if you are not from the right religious background, or not from the right family or neighborhood, etc. People in one subset group might bully other groups. People have no idea the trauma that bullying can cause for some people, leaving them feeling isolated and alone. It can cause people to want to hide from the pain they experienced in the past, or to feel less than others in general. It can cause people to become frozen within their safe zone, unable to access the hidden self that lingers just beneath the surface, waiting for the catalyst that will help them emerge from the prison they have placed themselves in, sometimes for years. All it takes is deciding you want more from life than you are getting, and to take some small steps in the direction of the life you so desperately want. There are programmed aspects of our own belief systems that can divide us based on the environment we were born into, our personal experiences of abuse, as well as personally developed individual philosophical differences. We need to dig deeper sometimes to find that common ground that good heart-ed people can all connect on. To learn to take calculated risks again, when it's clearly safe to take those risks again. We cannot hold such rigid views that totally limit us from experiencing the connections we could otherwise have. Having said that, it's still important to find some level of alignment with those that are at least on a similar path, or at the very least, those with a desire to be on the same path and are expressing that desire with clear actions towards that path. If a person decides to live a life of crime and deception, that is certainly not a good alignment for those that choose to live a life of truth, love, and compassion, as well as someone who chooses addiction, perpetual victimization, and loathing over someone very focused on finding solutions to life's problems. This is not to put those down that struggle with those things. However, when we are seeking alignments that are successful for us, we need to consider the possible anchor this can be with aligning with those that are not living as healthy as we would like. Learning to focus on the positive aspects of solitude are very important, and the lessons we can learn from loneliness and isolation are just as important too. I'm personally still working to understand the circumstances that have led to my moments of chosen and unchosen isolation as well, but also the power it has given me to heal many aspects of my own inner world. I believe this is an ongoing part of the reason we came here, to understand the power of compassion, friendship, forgiveness, partnership, and love. That we cannot seek to be totally isolated and never seek to give of ourselves anymore. We need to be aware of the inherent gifts we have to present to the world, and just how powerful our thoughts and intentions really are. This is where we absolutely must dig into the hidden self, the aspects of ourselves that have caused us to limit our experiences, or the aspects of ourselves still yet to discover that could help us out of this stalemate. Understanding how our hidden self was shaped and how society has a hand in influencing our inner world and our motivations to expand our connections, but only if we give that power away to them, instead of taking charge of our own lives. It's very important to learn how our own prejudices and seeking the safe zone can be limiting our own personal experiences, and how seeking only what is safe and comfortable can affect our entire lives. The masks we wear, how we hide our true selves. This chapter is a very complex area of discussion because there are so many variations associated with the fear of rejection and judgment. A healed person can be their authentic self regardless of needing to fit in or to seek outside validation from individuals, groups, or organizations. However, we can forever isolate ourselves if we limit ourselves based on too many strongly held beliefs and fears over the judgment of others. This is where finding alignments to some extent are important in seeking a happier path forward. To learn to accept the differences in thinking to some extent, in order to broaden our ability to connect. This doesn't, however, mean we need to put up with abuse, disrespect, or mob mentality just to be a part of a larger group. Having a clear vision of self and seeking to align with those that at least hold a similar set of core values is very important. This is true in all aspects of life, including philosophy and religion. If you cannot find exactly what you are looking for out there, be the leader and create your own circle. Use social media to drive your efforts if you find yourself in an area with limited opportunities to build the community you are interested in. Do not limit your group too much by gender or religious dogma. but rather let it be a group where you focus on a very clear set of core values. As long as all parties are okay with focusing solely on those core values, rather than to spend time convincing others they are wrong in their own faith and beliefs. I always advise groups to form based on core interests, values, and healthy philosophies, rather than on word-for-word religious dogma. Build it, and they will come. Although still investigating this area myself, I believe it is entirely possible through thoughts and positively focused intention to create or build the world we desire. To sort of manifest it into our reality through positively focused intention. There is no other reason to meet with others other than to share a common focus or passion, to support and grow together in our focus and intentions. All we really need in life are the few good people that care about us, not some massive group of acquaintances that could truly care less. Even if what you build organically grows in that direction, you will find only a very small subset of people that are truly interested in spending time with you. To building a close relationship that is mutually beneficial is very important. The mutuality of benefit in a relationship is of the most important focus when building relationships that last a lifetime. Identifying and eliminating all narcissism and abuse from your life is paramount in living a life of happiness. To value ourselves enough to know exactly what we want and where we want to go. I have personally had the more recent experience of this, having moved south from the Northeast and started out my new life in southwestern Virginia. For the first time in my life, I had felt as though I was really building some strong relationships of mutual love and respect. However, a decoy relationship took me to another state, as well as a poor economy. For yet again another new start. This has proven to be a very difficult move, where the relationship was truly another narcissistic decoy, as opposed to anything real. And the direct area I find myself in wasn't as friendly as I would have liked it to be. So, what do we do in situations like this, where we feel like things are a bit more challenging than they have been in the past? In situations like this, we'll need to dig deeper than ever before to find creative ways to connect and to create the world we desire. To be okay with not wanting to just join a group or church just to get along. Not that this is inherently bad, it's just not for everyone. And that's perfectly okay to seek alternative ways to connect. To really make sure whatever we choose is fully in our hearts and is something that will sustain our motivation and match the vision of where we want to go and who we want to connect with. Some churches can still be a great way to find community, depending on the philosophy, leaders, and the culture of the organization. We need to do this in all aspects of our lives, work, personal, or whatever, for outcomes to be lasting. Church groups can still be a very good choice for many as well. I was just pointing out that it doesn't have to be the only way to connect with others, and oftentimes, you may experience that sort of division within the larger group. If you do choose the church for your support system, just spend some time figuring out who's who and how to connect with others that might be more in alignment with your core values. The roots of loneliness, exploring the causes and triggers. This topic might be the hardest one to write about because there are so many different experiences that can lead to isolation. Some of it paired with experiences of trauma or distraction or overall circumstances that limit our ability to connect. Some of the roots of loneliness can be found in our past. It can also be found in the habits we form and the expectations of society. The fear of judgment and not fitting into the box society has already set the rules for can make us feel limited. For example, I have a friend who has chosen to live her life more freely and travels the world instead of setting down roots and having a family. She chooses to live her life on her terms, void of any concern over the judgment of others. To live freely regarding relationships, etc. Not every lifestyle fits into the box that society has chosen for us. So, I admire anyone who can find what makes them truly happy and keeps them motivated to get up and be excited to explore new things every day. The distractions of TV and news programming, as well as so-called social media, can be life-robbing. Even though social media can provide some positive experiences and gives people the ability to connect on some level, there is still a lot of escapism tied up in that, unless you use it wisely. Unless we use those things for good and to move us toward connection. Sports can be a way to start a general conversation, but to really know it requires a sort of addictive following. Sports are interesting, but oftentimes sucks you in and wastes a lot of time that could be otherwise used to really get to know people on a more intimate level. All programming, TV, sports, news, social media, are designed to take us away from deeper connections to replace what would otherwise be happening organically. Take the invention of online dating, for example. With all of the prejudice-based statistics and profiles we must live up to ourselves, and then we have to trust are legitimately expressed by others. Online dating has become a narcissist's haven, and in some ways, so has social media in general. We waste so much time trying to live up to some kind of societal standard or generational trend that we lose sight of what's most important. Real connections with real people in person and not based on some system of standards, impossible for most of us to live up to. Never let mob mentality rule your life. One of the triggers of loneliness is a lack of emotional resonance. This refers to the phenomenon where an individual's emotional state synchronizes with that of another person, group, or environment. This resonance can occur consciously or unconsciously and can have a profound impact on our emotional well-being, relationships, and overall quality of life. If we are not seeking emotional resonance, we will suffer in our ability to resolve our loneliness. The journey of self-discovery. The inner compass. Tuning into your intuition and inner wisdom. One of the ways in which we can connect with our inner guidance is through meditation and intuition. We all have inherent intuitions about things in life, but oftentimes we ignore the warning signs that take us on a path of distraction and sometimes even destruction. Oftentimes, when we are in a place of feeling lonely, we can make rash decisions. Decisions that are out of desperation and loneliness. When we ignore our intuitions about the people we are choosing to place into our lives, we end up wasting a lot of time dealing with misalignment. It's absolutely important to develop a clear picture of what you want in your life and the kinds of people you want around you. It takes a real strong connection with your inner purpose to really know what it is you want or don't want, and for seeking people and environments that are going to be conducive to your success. We need to seek mutually beneficial relationships because it's not only what we can derive, but what we can do to help others grow as well, or to seek relationships that give us more joy rather than misery. We do have to be careful not to be too exclusive and too specific. However, the big picture alignments really need to be there for your success, with breaking out of the rut of loneliness in a way that will provide the longest-lasting relationships. We have to be very careful not to seek relationships of any kind out of desperation. We need to use that inherent internal wisdom that we all really know intrinsically, but oftentimes will ignore out of fear, sadness, or desperation. Uncovering the hidden self, exploring your values, passions, and desires. It's important to understand your own core values, or at least get clear on what you would like those core values to be. Usually, we find our best connections through our passions that help us to express our core values. Ask yourself what it is you are passionate about and how you can incorporate that into your daily life. It's very important to find ways to be self-expressive as a way to realize or to discover your life's purpose. Authentic self-expression is a strong way to build confidence and self-esteem. When we are living inauthentically or doing things that go against our core values, we tend to get derailed in our purpose. Or sometimes we can feel defeated by a feeling of guilt, shame, or confusion about our life's purpose, or what makes us truly happy. What can we do to add value to life? A feeling that we are adding value, or that we can be making a difference in our lives, is truly a strong focus for those that truly want success in relationships, or with anything in life really. Even if you are just talking about technology, the best ideas are the ideas that make life easier for us all. Those are the life-changing ideas that can bring people closer together in some way. The power of vulnerability, embracing imperfection and authenticity, embracing our own imperfections, as well as the imperfections in others, is so very important. When we are living authentically, we all know we have things to work on to make us feel better. Accepting the fact that none of us is perfect allows us to learn true forgiveness of self and others. It allows us to expand our scope of selection in friendships, as long as it does not violate our deeply held core values. This may force us to take a few more risks, to allow ourselves to become vulnerable for a moment, at least long enough to explore new options. We have to be very careful not to get too rigid in our selections and standards. We need to see a person for who they are at their core, regardless of any perceived flaws. As long as those flaws land inside your core values of acceptance, it will be safe for you to take that risk with someone. Intolerance and general negativity towards others' flaws can be really detrimental to our ability to grow lasting relationships. Building connections and community. Beyond small talk, cultivating deeper connections with others. Seek to find relationships, using a strong intention to connect at the deeper levels. If the conversations you have with the people in your circle are not superficial and lacking substance, then it's time to start looking for a more value-based connections with others. In my personal opinion, we only have so much time on this planet, and for me there is no reason to stay in relationships that seem to be fake or shallow, or when the only purpose of the relationship is to appear as though we have so many friends, when all we really have sometimes are shallow acquaintances. To really accomplish things in life and with our connections with others, we need to connect on a level that really matters to us and is mutually beneficial and meaningful. For example, a lot of connections are based on entertainment, sports, drugs, alcohol, and many other potentially addictive behaviors. If the basis of our connections never sink deeper than this, then what good does that kind of connection really do in our lives or the lives of those we are connected with? Even with some of these shallower connections, there can be opportunity to dig deeper. We have to use our intuition and experience to determine whether it's good for us to spend time on digging deeper with that person or not. In order to really determine what a person is about, we need to become better interviewers. Good interviewers are the masters of asking questions that prompt a person to go deeper with you. But it takes sincere active listening to allow that person to speak and get a full idea out. I find that there are so many people that don't truly understand what it means to be in a back-and-forth conversation and would rather lecture and never listen. We can all easily fall into this trap, especially if we too are feeling like we are never heard. A good conversation requires patience and a sincere desire on each part to pause and really listen to what the other person has to say, to ensure we can reflect back what they are saying so they feel heard, and so that there can truly be trust and understanding built between people. When navigating complex social interactions, it is very important to exercise what is known as rational intelligence. Seeking logic rather than just pure emotion also allows us to expand our options with friendship. Any purely emotional attachments without any logical analysis can stop us from being vulnerable enough to explore in the first place. For example, differences in extreme political views is not always logical, but usually anchored down by something deeply emotional. Both parties need to be willing to put aside deep emotional attachments and think more rationally about differences, and in some cases put aside those differences to connect more at a deeper level of core values. Oftentimes you might realize that you are not really that far off with these differences. Regardless of our differences, we need to have empathy for others' emotional attachments as long as they are still healthy and do not affect your core values in any meaningful ways. We have to remember our own biases and not let that always be the engine that powers all of our decisions. Sometimes it's better to focus on logic than pure emotions. But when something is deeply held, there is always going to be some level of emotion attached to it. Keeping a healthy balance of logic and emotion is something to really focus on for success. The art of empathy, understanding, and connecting with others. The be truly empathetic has nothing to do with needing to agree on everything. Sometimes all a person needs is understanding, even when we don't agree with what is being said. This allows the other person to feel understood and appreciated for their own perspective. Compassionate communication means to put aside our differences for a moment and just listen to what a person has to say. It's way too easy to quickly dismiss an idea or to shut it down with not fully listening to the other person's thoughts, ideas, or dreams. No matter how much we disagree, we need to focus more on just listening compassionately. If what is said is so offensive to you, then you are likely not in alignment in any meaningful way with this person anyway. However, the process of truly compassionately listening will allow you to make some determinations about your next moves. To be a compassionate listener gives you more information. We never learn anything when we are the ones doing all the talking. Finding your tribe. building a supportive community. No matter what, it's very important to create your own supportive community. Even if you have to become the leader or the one to creatively manifest that community. To use all social avenues, online or offline, to attain optimal community. Whatever that looks like for you, that is. Not everyone has the same ideas about what they want or need for support, or what they too have to offer a particular community. Seeking to serve as much as being served is so important. To go out in life with service to others being the most important focus. It becomes much easier to conceptualize a supportive community when you have service to others in mind first. When we have this focus first, the rest can simply fall into place. If we are merely focused selfishly on what we can get from others, we are unlikely to connect in any meaningful ways. What do you think you have to offer others, and how would that affect the community you are dreaming of? Community helps us out of that isolation we find ourselves in. Through intentional community building, we can find that sense of belonging we never thought we could otherwise have. It's truly amazing when people come together for a common goal or from a common core philosophy. It may sometimes feel impossible, but intentionally seeking community can really open up a lot of new options. Staying stuck and never trying is not an option for any of us. Life is too short to hide ourselves away because we have fear of rejection or low self-esteem. So working on that self-esteem sometimes means we have to step outside of the box of safety we placed ourselves in. To learn our own personal strength, we have to say no to what we don't want and yes to the things we want to move forward to. Integrating the hidden self. Embracing your authenticity. Integrating the hidden self into daily life. To integrate your hidden self takes courage, compassion, and authenticity. Forgiveness of ourselves or our past missteps or even ongoing struggles is so very important. To realize you do not have to be perfect to seek the better things in life. That you can start right where you are and still move forward confidently every day. To not let missteps totally derail you, and to seek the help from others that have already gone through what you have gone through. To fully show up authentically and honestly with your hidden self is so important. When we choose to put on a mask, as opposed to living authentically, we hold ourselves back from the connections we could otherwise have, from the relationships that could otherwise support us on our journey. If we do not show up authentically, with a full understanding of where we are in our journey, we end up hiding away and never fully bringing out our hidden self. It's important to keep inventory of what we still have left to work on and to be compassionate and patient with ourselves while on this journey. We can never slip back into self-loathing or the victim mindset. Life can be really difficult at times, but we are never truly alone. Each of us has the power of source behind us, as long as we intentionally seek to align with our purpose and to truly appreciate the process of self-discovery and growth. Maintaining momentum, overcoming obstacles, and staying on track. Building resilience is something that is so important for our success in life. Ask yourself how you generally react to adversity. Do you always feel defeated whenever something challenging comes your way? Do you seek substances or pleasure-seeking as a form of escape, rather than truly facing and resolving your issues? Or are you more solution-oriented in the way you respond to negative outcomes? We always have a choice in how we respond to life's dark moments. We can either be defeated, or we can get busy planning our next steps to recovery, to do whatever is in our power to succeed. This is why building a supportive community is so important, to have a support system to fall back on, something to help keep the momentum going. Self-care is an important factor in maintaining momentum. Momentum cannot happen when we are not caring equally for our own physical and mental health. Part of that consideration is the environment we subject ourselves to. This can be where we choose to live, work, and play. With the relationships we allow into our lives. Are the people you surround yourself with on a daily basis generally healthy relationships, or are they the polar opposite? Caring for your own spiritual, emotional, and physical health is important to survive environments you may not have as much control over. But as much as possible, we need to be working towards environments and relationships that are going to be more supportive to our goals than detrimental. Regardless of whether or not we have the power to change the environment we find ourselves in, we can still focus on self-care. Self-care gives us the ability to cope with a lot more in our lives. Self-care is an act of self-love. When we let our mental, emotional, or spiritual health get neglected, we will usually suffer with some level of depression or doubt. We connect more easily with our purpose through a focus on self-care. The journey continues, embracing the evolution of the self. To continue with this momentum, we have to make a personal commitment to ourselves and to our personal development. The journey of this life is all about learning, whether you are consciously aware of it or not. So, seeking a positive mindset about lifelong learning is important to maintaining the momentum we need to succeed. It will be important to keep an open and curious mind in order to fully explore new concepts. You don't have to agree with everything, but if we reject all new ideas because of a fully rigid mindset, we will ultimately fail by limiting our experiences in this life. We cannot use the same failing old tools to solve problems that need a new approach. There is always something new to discover and something new to experience, but we must purposely seek out the change we want. We need to start the ball rolling towards the outcomes we want by seeking new knowledge about specific types of problems. We need to eliminate anything that holds us back from achieving the success we dream of, whether that be in our professional or personal lives. We need to review the environments and people we are surrounded with and see what we can do to always be moving towards the next best outcomes. We need to do this until such as time that we find ourselves in an environment that will truly support our dreams and goals and allow us to achieve the success we have always wanted. These are all strong attractors of people as well, since most good and supportive comrades really appreciate positive motivation. Conversely, we are unlikely to attract great friends when we are stuck in self-loathing, feeling defeated, or giving up on ourselves. No matter what, we can never give up on ourselves or on our dreams. It's okay to adjust exceptions, but we all need to stay motivated toward success in some way. And that journey is forever changing and needs to be fluid, but constant. A constant review of our current state and the weighing that against the outcomes we seek. Keeping track of our current trajectory and potential successes is so very important. We need to embrace change and be honest with ourselves as to what our own issues are at the moment. Without fully owning our own issues, we really have no starting point to begin to get better within our own lives. Self-awareness is key in even starting to navigate towards our goals of healing mind, body, and spirit. Taking action, building a support network, creating a community of care. Now that we have an idea of what needs to be done and how to possibly go about it, it's time to devise a plan towards clear and concise action. To get out and start building your network of friends, family, and community members to help support you on your journey. We cannot accomplish much without the help of others. At least not completely. Even on the job, the best organizations are those that look at all members as part of a team. They truly care about each other, and their actions support that every day in how they choose to operate and focus. In successful organizations, bosses act more as leaders rather than tyrannical commanders. The best teams are those where each member attempts to help all other members succeed. To devise systems and processes that support each individual toward success, so that the ultimate goals of the organization can be realized. We also need to intentionally focus on the people we select to be part of our own inner circle, in the same way a good organization will select a successful team. This sometimes means to develop stronger boundaries and a more clear focus on what you will or will not allow into your life anymore. Sometimes we need to adjust our boundaries in either direction to figure out what our clear boundaries are. The right people will align enough, especially if they are open to negotiation. Seeking those more in alignment with our personal core values makes it much easier in setting boundaries with those we choose to have in our lives. Usually in that case, there is more auto-alignments rather than having to convince others. Our boundaries are fair and justified. If there are way too many disagreements on where the boundaries need to be, then you are likely not in good enough alignment with that person. If either person cannot negotiate a comfortable, respectful boundary, then it might be better to seek other options. Too many times we try to fit a square peg into a round hole and expect to have success. Sometimes people are better off making different choices for their own happiness, and that is more than okay to do that if necessary. That is sometimes the smarter decision when it comes to seeking flow and alignment, as well as forward momentum and happiness. If there is too much resistance in your relationships, first ask what you may be contributing to that resistance, And is anything you can do to correct that? If you honestly feel there is nothing that can be done on your part to help in establishing clear and healthy boundaries, and you feel your morals or values would be compromised with adjusting, then it's time to consider a new plan or choice. Both people need to be willing to accept differences to some extent, but it cannot be on all the core important principles you care about. One or two sacrifices are sometimes required, but to sacrifice all that you stand for is not okay and will not likely lead you to a place of lasting and happy relationships. Creating a self-care practice, strategies for nurturing your mind, body, and spirit. One of the most important things for staying motivated in life is self-care. Without self-care, mind, body, and spirit, we can essentially fall apart. If any one of those areas is being neglected in any big way, we suffer tremendously. Because in all reality, all three of these areas need to be in balance to some extent. Nothing is ever going to be perfectly in balance, but when we focus with clear intent on bringing these things as close to a balance as we can, the outcome for our motivations can be profound. Taking care of the physical self through a healthy nutritional and physical exercise program is very important. Our motivations for exercise and physical self-care come from a good mindset first. It comes from dealing first with the mind and the soul. And when we spend time taking care of our bodies, we also, as a result, automatically care for our minds and souls. The mind, body, and spirit complex we live in while we are here on this 3D plane needs your care and attention for it to flourish. Taking care of all three aspects is very important for our happiness. But when we focus on one area, oftentimes we are automatically healing the other. The hidden self desires this balance and knows intrinsically how important it is to focus on self-care, how important it is to truly understand what self-love is about. You don't have to be perfect to get started, and certainly do not have to live up to the standards of others to get that ball rolling. The goal with self-care is to work to realize your own inner strength. Strength you may have never realized in the past was even possible for you. There is more free information online and free training videos now that no one should feel they simply cannot find out how to do something. Yes, there are many fake gurus out there ready to take from you, but you will have to use discernment and that inner knowing to realize what will truly work for you. Do your research, devise a plan, and get started taking action in any way you can. Even if all you can do for now is to take a walk or climb some stairs. The spiritual aspects can be difficult at times if we let pre-programming or prejudices cloud up our minds with fear. It's my own personal opinion that we absolutely need to come to our realization about God on our own. Not through anything, but what resonates 100% within our own hearts. As long as we seek what feels right to us, without distortion, without fear, and without so much dogmatic programming, we should land on a good understanding. I personally encourage folks to look into the many near-death experiences out there to understand our souls and our life's purpose. There is a ton that can be realized within the vastness of those experiences. Anthony Chain on YouTube is a great source of various interviews like that. Keep in mind that some will claim to see Jesus, Buddha, or other entities, some only angels, and some just relatives who have passed on. I believe the point in that is that God expresses itself in all possible ways to reach people where it matters, in how they live their lives, not necessarily to get bogged down in dogmatic stories. Sometimes we get lost in the vast interpretations man presents to us about God, rather than to seek our truth within our own hearts. I encourage folks to really do some research on mindfulness and meditation practices. I personally have studied meditation and have taken long-term training classes in the various modalities of meditation, both guided and non-guided. Some of my most amazing times in meditation were with other people. It's important, however, to know the kinds of people you are meditating with and how their energies could affect your own. Also, some yoga practices that are more meditative can really be a great way to connect with yourself, mind, body, and spirit. For example, I have spent a lot of time over the years practicing Kundalini Yoga. This style of yoga is more meditative as well as mindful. There is a lot of breath work and stance poses that really challenge you to the core. I can't tell you how many times I have released emotions I had no idea were even there during those sessions. The music, the people, the gong's vibrational energies bring you to a place that is like no other. Many times I felt I had left my own body during the gong bath. So many times I felt I had left on a journey and came back. Be sure to direct some of the compassion you have for others towards yourself. Be sure to love yourself and have enough compassion to really follow through with your powerful self-care goals. I mean, why not, right? What do you have to lose in trying to focus on self-care? Self-care doesn't mean escapism, however. It doesn't mean to make ourselves feel better artificially. It means to take a real interest in healing all things mind, body, and spirit so that you can finally find that hidden self. The version of your hidden self just waiting below the surface to change the energies of your entire life. With your free will, you get to choose how you live your life from this day forward. This writing is one that I hope not only helps others, but helps me to keep moving forward with building stronger community and a stronger support network as I move to different places and meet new amazing people. And as I navigate the same challenges others often face, in a world that seems more and more disconnected, it is up to us individually to redirect our lives in a way that brings us closer to each other and allows us the opportunities to forgive, to love, and to move forward peacefully and happily. And to realize that even though your happiness is not found through others, the relationships we build with others, especially from a point of service and positive intentions and motivations, offer us more opportunities to experience more happy, peaceful, and loving moments. Remember that we first need to be a good friend before we can have good friends. Go out in life with a motivation of service and love, and I believe we could create miracles in this life, which can save our societies all around the world from division, fear, and division of any kind. Together, we can cure the disease of separateness, classism, racism, judgment, hate, fear, and loneliness. At the center of it is truly finding our hidden self, both the positive hidden self yet to discover and the negative hidden self ready to be healed. Good luck as always on your journey of self-discovery, love, and truth.